One second, let me put this cat away. She has just woken up and she's making all this noise. Don't you know I'm talking to Monét X Change?
I can't even hear it.
Goodness gracious, Scorekeepers, we're back. It is time for another episode of The Score. This is the podcast where we talk about classical music, pop culture, opera, definitely opera, from the perspective of three Black queer arts administrators. I am your host, Rocky Jones. As always, I am here with Dr. Lee Bynum and Paige Reynolds, but we have to dispense with all of the pleasantries because we don't have time for that today because it is an amazing day today. If you have been listening to the show since the very beginning, then you know that especially Lee and I have a huge love for drag, for the art of drag.
Art of drag.
Yes, and RuPaul's Drag Race. And today we have a legend on the show. Monét X Change is going to be on the show today. I can't.
But
I don't
you
even
have
know
to.
what to do with myself.
You have to.
I know I have to. Like,
I am
what?
unable.
Like, is this life?
It cannot be. It's, like Everything Everywhere All at Once. Y'all seen that? Like, no, this is like an alternate universe. This is
So we were having a very interesting conversation though last Friday because I have never been in drag.
This is like you never having gone to Detroit. Like
apparently, the way y'all reacted.
I'm like, you sure?
With those cheekbones, never, not once.
You stop! Oh my god, y'all are so sweet. Yeah, no, never. I mean, like, I maybe like put on my mom's high heels like every other gay boy in the universe when I was, a toddler or something. But yeah, no, never since then. And it's not that I don't want to. It's not that I'm not interested, but I've just never had a drag mother to show me what to do.
Well, then we'll just have to fix that because this is an oversight.
I feel like now I have two, which is very exciting. So, I mean, what are we thinking though?
So I definitely think we need to put some hair on you with some height.
Okay. I like that.
Yes, that is definitely part of the plan. Also, some sparkle in your garment. I think we definitely need that. I think we're going to go with some generous padding. We will create a new silhouette for you.
Do I need generous padding though? I mean, I feel like I'm pretty peak.
You've been hitting the gem kind of hard, so we are going to make sure that you have all of the curves and shapes that will create an illusion about the person you are. I will not mention the drag name that you suggested to me last Friday that was vetoed by one and all.
But I was going for more like a fun, campy sort of thing.
The look on Pablo's face to me said everything that we needed to know. Like, that name is clearly not going to fly with America.
Yeah, I did whole well, sweetie. Did whole well.
But what about the second one? The second one was better.
It was moving in the right direction, yeah.
All right, fine.
So maybe this is a job for scorekeepers. Scorekeepers.
Yeah.
What should Rocky's drag name be?
Ooh,
Y'all know
okay.
So. This is a well-read bunch. So
I like that.
Good names coming through.
Yeah, the score at mnopera.org. Yeah, send us your suggestions. I would love to get some suggestions from the public. That would be amazing.
I thought so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because clearly I am not good at this. I'm good at branding everything else. but apparently not my drag self.
I don't know if it's because you're Sagittarian, but for some reason I'm seeing like warmer colors and almost like a fiery like kind of vibe.
Is it my
Like-
background today?
Like a red and gold sequins, maybe.
I can see red and gold.
I don't know. I could see you wearing something like that and like just doing a mean version of a Proud Mary. Like
Actually, I mean,
you
funny
would really like tear it up. Like I just know it. I just feel
funny
it.
story because my sister tells this story. She was over because my sister is 15 years older than me, so she moved out when I was like 3. So she was over for a visit, and I was maybe 7 or 8 at the time, and we were watching What's Love Got to Do with It
Yes.
on VHS. And the Proud Mary scene where she's wearing the fringe sequin situation and twirling, we all know what I'm talking about. Of course, when that happened, I got up and I started to twirl around the room, and my sister says that's the moment they knew. My mom just looked at each other and we're like, oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I do have an affinity to that. That's part of my personal history. So I would be absolutely down for that. That
I
sounds
love it.
amazing. I am scared of the idea of twirling in heels, but I'm open to trying.
Okay, we can get you a sturdy heel, and that's where, you know, those little rubber things on the bottom come through. There are different ways to make your bottom of your shoe sticky.
I don't want to wear anything ugly though. I don't want like a chunky 90s heel or something.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I was talking about that. And certainly no kitten heels, no pussycat wigs, none of that.
No.
Yeah. This is not what we're doing.
Never that.
Yeah.
Because if I can't be campy and fun, I want to be the hottest that there ever was.
All right.
Yeah.
Taking notes.
And glamorous. And like I'm thinking like Angela Bassett, Beyonce, like in that, going in that direction. I know I will probably never get there in my lifetime. Like at least driving in that direction.
Well, your references are right, and that is, you know, a good 86% of the battle, in my opinion.
Yes, okay. Well, I'm excited.
I am too.
Me
I
too.
love a project.
I love a little styling, you know, little art direction.
Mothers shape me, mold me. Well, and maybe we should ask Monét what she thinks too.
It might be a great use of having an actual drag icon on the show.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, I can't wait any longer. I'm so excited. Monét X Change is here. Daughter of the Regiment is currently at the Ordway. Go see her in it right now. It's so amazing. I can't wait to talk to her all about it and all things Drag Race and all of the things. So stay tuned, and Monét X Change will be here right after the break.
Woo!
Yay!
All right, and we are back, and let's just get to it because we are so excited to have our next guest on the show today, a legendary legend, born and bred in New York City, The amazing, fabulous Monét X Change is an entertainment spitfire and the first Double Crown winner from RuPaul's Drag Race, having earned the title Miss Congeniality on season 10 and became the first Queen of Color inducted into the Hall of Fame after winning All Stars 4. Known for delivering energetic and show-stopping performances, Monet's showmanship reflects a tireless work ethic. After RuPaul's Drag Race, Monet released a debut EP called Unapologetically and traveled around the globe with her one-woman show, Call Me by Monet, as well as hosting and performing in the Work the World tour. And of course, we all remember All Star 7, where she was the runner-up. Amazing, incredible work. Since hosting her talk show, The Exchange Rate, produced by Yahoo, Monet has been focusing her oftentimes sociopolitical humor as the co-host of the popular podcast Sibling Rivalry with co-host Bob the Drag Queen, and has begun co-hosting a new podcast with the legendary Lady Bunny called Ebony and Irony. But we are so excited because right now she is joining us in Minnesota at the Ordway Center for the Performing Arts through February 12th. You can catch her as the Duchess of Krakenthorp and Donizetti's daughter of the Regiment. We are honored. We are so excited. Welcome to the show, Monét X Change.
Yay!
It's also freezing cold. It's very cold here in Minnesota.
Yeah, we ordered you up a polar vortex. We couldn't do the snow.
I know. I was like, this is crazy. I went to Barry's this morning and the temperature was like -7 outside. I was like, black people should not be living in this type of situation.
Yeah, well, that's a big reason why Lee got out.
Yeah. It feels against every fiber of my being sometimes, not gonna lie.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, you're the one that grew up here, so.
And it still doesn't feel right.
Okay. You know,
I'm
from New York, and people are like, "Oh, well, you're used to the cold," and I'm like, "Yeah, but in the Midwest, it's like different. It's like a bone-chilling cold. It's just very different than East Coast temperatures for sure.
It's also the wind, and it's the lack of humidity. There's just no moisture in the air. There's no lotion on Earth.
It's the kind of cold that like literally takes your breath away when you walk out the door. Like, I don't think people understand that.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, as cold as it is, we are so happy that you're here. And so I guess my first question is, you know, we all saw you on All Star 7. Perform the house down. So amazing. And so we're just so excited that you're here to perform with us. And so what made you decide that this was the opportunity that you wanted to take on, coming to Minnesota and performing in Daughter of the Regiment?
Yeah, so so I sang that aria in the talent show on All Stars 7, and I had a lot to redeem myself from All Stars 4, and it went so well because it was so well received. I had so many people like positively reaching out about it, and by the time I sang Viraviso on there, it just opened up a whole new world of different opportunities. And when Ryan Taylor, who is the director here in Minnesota, reached out to me via my friend Laquita Mitchell, I was like, you know what, this is like the perfect little role to dive back into classical singing and opera singing, because I have not had a voice lesson since I graduated Westminster in 2012. Wow. So there was a lot of work to do to get back to the level of these amazing singers that you have that occupy the opera space and that are here in the show. So I was like, this role is just one aria and like 2 scenes. I was like, I can handle this. And it's going really well. We had the opera, we had the Vanda probe the other day with the orchestra in the theater, and it was really great to sing with an orchestra again. It was very lovely. I'm very happy to be back.
Yes, and we're happy to have you.
Thank you.
I'm really curious about what your journey to classical music was in the first place, and do you see ways that it like informs or interacts with who you are now, your performance now as Monét X Change?
Yeah, so and I went to Performing Arts High School in New York City. I went to PPAS. which other legends went to, like Alicia Keys graduated from PPAS. Britney Spears went there for her sophomore year of high school. Woo, woo, woo.
Oh,
And
I didn't know that.
so yeah,
Right.
she did. It was somewhere around after the Mickey Mouse Club, and she was like looking for a record deal in New York, and she lived in New York for like a year or two, and she went to my high school. And obviously she didn't need to graduate because she was a star before her senior year. So, but yes, I went there, and we had this there was this choir called Songs of Solomon. It was directed by Chantel Wright, and she had us like doing like classical music. We were singing lots of anthems, a lot of spirituals, a lot of big works like the Schubert Mass in G and like the Fauré Requiem and all these things. And then that was like my introduction to classical music, or choral music specifically. And then when it came time for college, I was like, I think I wanna, like, everyone was telling me that I had such a beautiful voice and I really have a future in opera if I really went to a good school and really nurtured my gift. And I all signs directed to Westminster Choir College in Jersey, where I studied with Miss Sharon Sweet, and I majored in music ed and opera performance. And after like the first year, I dropped the opera performance because the music ed degree was literally the same thing, with like the exception of like 2 classes. I'm like, I'm not gonna kill myself for this, do a whole nother year and give Sally Mae another $50,000. And I'll chop it. And then so I just did that, and from there I sang after I graduated, I sang with Portland Opera with their Pogo program for 2 years. And then after that, that was my last thing in opera. That was 2013, was my last thing I did with classical music, and I found drag, and through drag, I found opera again. So it's kind of this like cyclical thing that kind of happens in my life. And opera was my introduction into classical music. Opera was the way I discovered that I was an artist and I wanted to be an artist. And, through opera and drag, I've kind of found my way kind of back to both each time.
It sort of makes sense to me because I always feel like opera is the draggiest of the performing disciplines.
Oh yes,
absolutely.
So can you
agree.
say a little bit about maybe how the two interplay for you, and how it's not just possible but actually quite natural maybe for these two art forms to exist in the same person? Because I'll bet there are a lot of folks out there who would be surprised to know that there is a world-class opera singer who's embodied in exactly the same person as a world-class drag queen.
Yeah, well, in college, I took this class called the Singing Actor, and so many of those skills I learned in that class, I found myself putting into lip syncing and into my drag, into my performances in drag. Because when you're lip syncing a song, even though it's not you singing Natural Woman by Aretha Franklin, you want to make the audience feel like it is you. And there is a certain thing to be one of the top girls in New York City. Like, you had to be one of those girls that can make an audience feel and really sell this song. So I found myself using a lot of those tricks I would hear Laura Brooks Rice, my singing actor teacher, yell at me and have me do the scene over and over and over again. I'm like, yeah, I can pull those skills. But as far as opera, I mean, drag, when coming up in New York City, I was working. I had 7 gigs a week. I worked Saturday through Saturday through Friday. Saturday through Thursday. I did a gig every night of the week, Sunday through Thursday, and on Saturdays I had 2 gigs. I would do brunch and then I would do a gig at night. And keeping up with that schedule, and also finding time to practice, and also getting enough water and getting enough sleep and talking on the mic for 3 hours every night, like, I found it very hard to maintain my classical stuff with that schedule. But now, post RuPaul's Drag Race, I'm very grateful and lucky to work enough that I can, choose my schedule and balance it out a bit more. But when I was trying to come up and make my way in New York City, it was hard to balance it too. Oh, and I also had a church job where we would have choir rehearsals on Wednesday night. And I would sometimes go to church choir rehearsal in drag because I had a gig at 11 o'clock that night. So we would have rehearsal from like 6:30 to 8:30, and I would rush over to in Midtown to get to Therapy Bar and slap my wig on, put my shoes on, and do a show that night. And then I would work Saturday nights until like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I had to be at church by like 8 o'clock. So it was a very rough schedule, but I really wanted to make both work, and I love both. And if you really love it, you'll find time. But I will say it was not easy. It was very hard to maintain a healthy singing voice and also keeping up with the throes of nightlife.
So what did the folks in the church say when you showed up to rehearsal in drag?
Well, I went to Christ Church. I worked at Christ Church, which is a very loving and accepting church over on 60th and Park in New York City, and directed by Steve Pilkington. He was one of my professors actually at Westminster. And when I graduated, I was like, "Hey, I'm back in New York," and I would do anything as singers, artists. You're trying to wherever you can get in and fit in and get $1. I was like, I would love to sing in the choir, and I was the first bass, and I would have solos and stuff, and but the church overall is a very, very, very loving church and very, very sweet, and they welcome all. There's no judgment, and sometimes Steve knew that I would have to just come to rehearsal in full face, but I was still busting out the notes though. I was still sight reading down. So yeah.
I love it. I'm also curious about just like what the process has been so far, and daughter of the regiment, rehearsal. You mentioned a little bit this, like, it's been a minute. You got to get back into the groove of, I mean, not just classical voice, but I'm sure it's a whole different rehearsal process and all that, and being in the room with other musicians again. What's that been like for you?
Yeah, well, coming back into this, first of all, when we were, because this role is a very unconventional role. Like Ruth Bader Ginsburg has played this role, and obviously she's not a singer, so the role doesn't always have to sing. But in this production, our director John De Los Santos, he was very adamant that it should be a singing role. So when I agreed to be a part of the show, they were going back and forth about what aria I would sing, and we settled on La Calunia from the Barber Seville. And I've never sung this aria before. I didn't know this aria. So when they found it out, I busted out my old bass aria book from college, and thank God the aria was in there because it's one of the bass standards. And I took out my old IPA notes, and I went through all the language, and I was IPA stuff, and I went to go get translations and make sure I know what the heck I'm singing about. So it was like me like pulling out all those skills from a decade ago to make sure that I am doing this right, because I didn't want to come in and it'd be like this quote unquote star role and then like half-assing it and it being not great. I wanted to really give it my all and do the best that I can. And so I did that in all of December. And then I came here December 27th after Christmas, and I met with Mario Mata, who is who's one of the head coaches here. No, sorry, he's not the head coach. His title, I keep on forgetting.
Head of music.
Head of music, sorry. Mario's the head of music, and we had a coach on the first day, and I was like, just so you know, it's been a while, and I did my best, blah, blah, blah. And after we got done, he was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "This was great." He was like, "You sound great. I love the things you're doing." And obviously, there were a few things that he helped me with, like that I wasn't thinking about, like different breaths I should do here, phrasing and stuff like that. But it's all meticulous work that anyone would do with an aria. But yeah, I'm very grateful for me remembering and not throwing out any of those old notebooks I had from college, so I could just brush up on those skills and get this language together.
So outside of the technical pieces, does any of this feel very different coming back to this, either because it's 10 years since the last time that you've done it and you've experienced so many things artistically and professionally that have shifted it, or maybe just because the landscape of classical music has changed so much post George Floyd? I'm curious about how you're experiencing this process now at this particular stage.
Since I've been so far removed from this a long time, like I've been so far removed for a long time, but I've been talking to other singers here and also my friends in the classical music world, and I have heard some of the rumblings and going ons of how things have shifted and changed since George Floyd, and I think it's much needed. As someone who can kind of take a step back and remembering my times, it's no secret that a lot of people feel that opera singers and classical people are a little gatekeepy. And it is
just a tad.
Just a little
You
bit.
don't say.
So it's nice to hear that we're making strides to break down those barriers. And because I know a lot of people preach about inclusivity and making sure opera is accessible. So I'm happy that people are really not just saying that, but like actually trying to make strides to do that. Because, you know, statistically, I'm not supposed to be here doing this. You know what I mean? I'm some little black lower middle class kid from East Flatbush, Brooklyn, and now I'm here singing a role at the Minnesota Opera. So, you know, I'm very grateful of the work that people are doing. And now that I'm coming back into this, I would like to see what I can do on my end with my little bit of gamist stardom and whatever, however I can push the needle and move things and influence it in any way I can. I would love to do that for the community and the culture.
Well, that actually brings up a question that I was going to ask, because I'm just so curious, after having this experience, like, do you think you're going to keep going and keep, you know, trying to perform in, you know, more operas, more classical music? And do you think there's anything that, you know, institutions like ours can do to continue to foster the growth of Black artists such as yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely want to keep on going this. You know, again, I said it before, like opera really is my first love, and it's the thing that made me realize that I wanted to be an artist, and I wanted to back then be a starving artist. You know what I mean? I was like, I'll do whatever I can to be art. So I want to keep on going, and I think I'm lucky that I kind of got the second chance at it, because I know some people. A lot of us spend a lot of this money on these degrees, and we end up working for medical sales or in something that we did not. There's something so far away from what we went to school for. So kind of happy that I kind of got this like second shot at something that I love to do, and so I don't want to take that for granted, and I want to work hard, but I also want to pay my dues and not just get opportunities because of who I am, but what my talents are and what those are affording me to get. So I want to do the work that way. And yeah, there are already some rumblings about some future things. One of my dreams, because my favorite opera is The Magic Flute. Love The Magic Flute because of Deanna Damrau and her and the way she did the Met is one of I mean, in college I must have watched that video easily. I contributed to about a third of those billion views on YouTube for sure. So in my mind, there is a world where there is this like drag Zoroaster versus like the Queen. It's just like Queen versus Queen. I'm like, what director or who's gonna take this production on, this like ridiculous over the top Queen versus Queen, Zoroaster versus the Queen of the Night, like freaking Marvel Endgame, like that. Like I think it could be so fierce. So I'm hoping that opportunity presents itself sometime in the future for sure.
I hope so too. Do y'all hear that? Do y'all hear that?
That sounds amazing.
Hello,
right?
hello, opera administrators. Do you hear this opportunity right here?
Like even like all the priests are in drag, and Zoroaster is the drag, and the Queen of the Night. Obviously, she's like. I mean, it would just be like, because I think that's what opera needs. Like, we need to show, because I feel like younger people want to get involved in opera. But they, again, to go back to the gatekeeping thing, they feel like there's no space for them there. And I feel like if we tug on their creativity a little bit, like in LA Opera, I went to go see this really cool production of Lucia, like set in like the 2000s this season. I was like, oh my God, it's like, again, I love Lucia. It's one of my favorite operas, but to see it set in this really cool way with like a Ford Pinto and like a Ford F-150, and like it just makes it just a little more exciting. Like those same arias, we can still gasp and gag at the mad scene, but it just feels a little fiercer when she has an iPhone in her hand too. Like I think that we can do work to make these very, very, very old productions and these old arias, make them fun and exciting and new again.
I love that. Yes. I feel like there's a lot opera can learn from drag. There's a whole lot that opera can learn. And I want to go back to, oh no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, because there is, as you know, when I was working in New York City coming up, and even drag for me now, a lot of being successful in drag, you are your own producer, you're your own writer, you're your own joke teller, you're the own host. Like you're constantly thinking of ways to innovate your drag and to make it exciting, because again, I was working 7 shows in New York City, so like what am I offering these people every night to make them want to come back? And I was very grateful to be a very successful queen in New York City. My shows were always well attended. It's because I was always trying to figure out exciting ways to keep the audience engaged and make it fun. Like, why do you want to come and see me at midnight at Barracuda Bar on 23rd Street on a Monday night? Like, what am I doing to make you want to be late for work on Tuesday morning? And I think that thinking in terms of opera, I think we can think that way too. Like, how can we make these productions new and fun and exciting to make people want to spend to become ticket season holders, to want to see this new Rigoletto or this new Don Giovanni? Like, we have to think about that.
Ooh, if I had a nickel for every time I was at Barracuda Bar.
Well, Monet, I have a slightly different kind of a question for you. One of the things that's been like actively troubling me, and we've talked about this, the three of us, a couple of times, is that there has been this like pendulum swing in the last couple of months that feel like it's really trying to problematize drag, right? And then like out of places like Arizona, there are all of these laws that are coming out that are meant to suppress the art form and to, sort of represent it to people as something that is potentially problematic for kids. And, it's really disturbing for 1,000 reasons, but some of that is certainly because of how like incredibly successful drag has become in the last couple of years. And I'm curious if you have any perspectives on either where this is coming from or what we can do to counterbalance some of it.
Yeah, I think it's the ongoing efforts of the right to make us look like to paint us as something that we're not. And I mean, number one, I don't want kids at my show. When I'm in drag, I don't want kids there. Like, I don't think there's any drag queen fighting for kids. I don't think there are any drag queens. Right. I don't think any drag queens have kids at their shows. I don't think any drag queen is fighting for kids to be let into their into their 11 o'clock show at Gay 90s or at the saloon on a Tuesday night. I may be wrong, but I don't think that's the case. And also, if you really look at this legislature, it is just a way to. They're saying drag queens, but it is a way to denigrate trans folks, to denigrate trans people. And I think that we really have to look at that, like, because the language they're using, they are, for all intents and purposes, describing and outlining trans women so that they can further marginalize them and demonize them and weaponize this fight against drag story hour, to really come for trans women. So I think that when you really look at the legislation and you get down to the nitty-gritty, that's what it's about. And it's like as if trans people have not had to endure enough, and that they still do not endure enough every day just to exist, just to get normal basic human rights, just to have civil rights in this country. And now we're trying to attack dress up drag queen story hour as a way to attack them too. It seems like a fight that we will continue having, but I am down to. I will be fighting until there's no fight to be had, and I'm always ready for that.
Period. Also, the insidiousness of kind of trying to just paint drag as like something that's inherently sexual, and just inappropriate. And first of all, that's not even where it started. And if you consider some of the most beloved stories that have some form of a man playing a woman, or a woman playing a man, or someone just extremely altering their appearance in some way, that's drag. And like, so to paint into something else is Messed up.
The other day, 46 men were arrested in Frisco, Texas, all part of this like sex trafficking ring with like with like minors and whatever. They were like volunteer firefighters, high school teachers, a youth pastor, a pro hockey player, a hospital director of operations. Not one drag queen was among this list of 46 men arrested for sex trafficking minors. So I think that is a big, indicator of like what's really going on here, who we should be really, who this fight is against, really.
Absolutely. And I saw a tweet the other day that was like, kids nowadays every month do, active shooter drills at their school. I think like they can handle being told what drag is. And what
Exactly.
Exactly. It's just it's ridiculous. Like, what are we gonna ban like performances of 12th Night now? Well, I have some drag race questions.
Oh yeah.
Let's get to it.
Let's get to it. So, I mean, I guess the biggest question that I have is with All-Star 7, the all-winner season. Were you nervous going back? Did you have any trepidation about going back for an all-winner season? Because, like, I don't know. For me, I would be like, if I went on an all-winner season and I didn't win, like, what would that mean? That would make me so nervous. So,
I think for all of us, not even myself, I think all of us going in, like after you win, there wasn't really a fear of like, if I don't win this, I'm not worthy anymore. That invalidates what I did before. I definitely did have that fear, and I know a lot of the girls didn't either. And yes, I wasn't really scared to go back. I mean, I didn't want to win, but I wasn't afraid of not winning because I'm so grateful for what my career is and what I'm doing already off, not including All-Star 7. So it would just be like a little extra icing on top. I wasn't going back for any type of validation or anything I needed like that. So I wasn't scared at all. I was really confident in going back in.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
It does. I mean, I'm curious because you mentioned earlier how, opera and classical does have the reputation of being exclusive or, kind of snooty, uppity, or sometimes just boring. But I wonder, like, with your choice to perform an aria in that moment, like what was happening in your decision making? Like, what made you know that was the moment to bring it out? And were you just like completely confident that just like, yeah, I'm gonna clear it? Or were you just like, I don't know if this is gonna land. I don't know how they're gonna feel.
Well, so we knew that we were going to do a talent show. So we all like came with like what we're going to do ready for our talent. And the episode before, they were like getting, doing the last minute checks to make sure we're okay for our talent. And I was originally going to do this R&B song from this upcoming project I had coming out. And then like the day before, I was like, you know what? Actually, I'm not going to do that anymore. I want to sing an aria. And they were like, oh, do you have the music? I was like, no.
You changed the day before?
Yeah, the day before I changed it. And they were like, well, what were you going to sing it to? I was like, well, can you guys find me an orchestral track for the opera Viraviso from La Sonnambula? They're like, I don't think we can do it in 24 hours. I'm like, I believe in you guys. I know you guys can. And like all the day before, they were like coming back, like we were on set filming, and they were like pulling me out of the room. They're like, how about this one? I was like, no, that's not it. And they were coming back and forth, back and forth. They finally found it. And when you do the talent show, your track has to fit within 65 minutes. It can't be longer than 65 minutes. So when we got the track, I had to like do some cuts, and we had to like speed it up so that it would all fit in 65 seconds. And I did that because I was like, you know what? No one has ever sang opera on Drag Race, and I want to be I love being the first to do something. And I just knew that is what I wanted to do and what I needed to do. And I'm very happy I made the decision.
So are we.
It was such a fascinating season to watch. And I've watched every single episode of every single franchise, like some kind of wild, crazy person who doesn't have other things to do. But it's such a for me, it's like the Queer Olympics, because every single category of thing that I feel like I care about in life. The hair, the makeup, the clothes, the heels, the lip syncing. I care about that like as a human, like when I'm at work, like I notice these things about people. So watching this was really extraordinary. And you had some of my favorite moments of like any RuPaul franchise of any country in any language on the season. As a matter of fact, 4 of them. So I'm kind of curious to hear if you had any highlights from the season 7 of All Stars.
For my highlights, I love doing that spoken word lip sync that Jinx and I did. That's like I mean, it's now kind of it's not part of a lot of different drag scenes, but in the New York scene, it was so common, especially back in the day, for us to put like spoken word into numbers. And so it's something I've been doing in drag since I started, honestly. So that was one of my favorite moments. I also loved doing Michael Jackson. Oh my God, Mike Tyson on the Snatch Game. I've had that. And yeah, I loved all the clothes that I wore on these runways. I felt so beautiful. Even especially my finale one that was made by Chris Habana, who is a designer in New York City, and I just portraying this like cool Afro neo-futurism, and I really enjoyed my runways this season.
We all did. We're still talking about them.
Yeah, like the one dress, the leather dress, the strap. Yeah. I mean, oh my God. When you came out in that, I was gagged completely.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'm curious, like between like season 10 and then All Stars 4 and All Stars 7, I mean, obviously we've got to see the evolution of your artistry, just incredible looks, incredible performances. So what can you take us through just sort of some of the things that you learned between season 10 and All Star 7? Did you get any advice from Ru or any of your other sisters, or like what has that journey been like?
It's definitely been one of growth, obviously, because it's been going on 6 years now since season 10. And I think that the first time you go on the show, for me, it was season 10, and you like watch yourself back, like you see how other people view you. And some people go on the show and like they have this preconceived notion of how they want to present or what they think or who they think they are. And Bob had done the show before me, and he was like, when you go on Drag Race, like don't try to like be someone else. I was like, what do you mean? He's like RuPaul, like he had on a show of girl because he wanted you. Like he wanted Monét. He didn't want this other thing. Like don't try to be like some like this shady cunty girl or whatever it is. Just like really be you. And I think that advice stuck with me in every iteration of the show I've been on, whether it be season 10, All Stars 4, All Stars 7, Celebrity Drag Race, Canada Drag Race, all the things I've done in the different franchises. I've always wanted to just be myself, because I mean, the truth is, Kevin Burton, Monét X Change is fierce, and there is only one. There's only one person can be me. So that's what I always wanted to present. So I never really had any like big epiphany going to show like most people do, because they see themselves for the first time. The only thing that between season 10 and All Stars 4, they asked me to do All Stars 4, like, and season 10 wasn't even finished airing yet. We were on like episode 6 or 7 of season 10, and they're like, hey, we're casting for All Stars 4. Are you interested? And I was like when is it filming? And like you'll have like a month and a half to get ready. And I was like,
oh my goodness.
God, I was still like touring and traveling and stuff for the first time. Like I didn't really know how to handle all that. And then my assistant Patty was like, well, if you go back, do you think you'll win? I was like, well, I know I'll win. The only thing I didn't have was good clothes on season 10. So I know I can win if I go back All Stars 4. And then so we sat with some designers, and I made that decision to go back immediately. And going back so quickly, I was like, I guess that's all you need on Drag Race, to have a great personality and some cute clothes, and you can win. So that was probably the biggest growth I had in terms of like my mindset and how I needed to do better in the competition.
I love it. It was the focus you came back with for me.
Yeah.
Just like, I know what it was. Notes taken. Notes taken. Well, I'm actually curious about Monet, what your favorite Monét X Change moment is, but also from everybody. Your favorite. So this is kind of a question. This is kind of a question for everybody. I'm going to go ahead and answer first to give you a little time. My moment is actually not a singular moment. It's more of a collection of moments. For me, it'd be the fake split moment. It gets me every time. It gets me every time. So yeah, not a single moment. Rocky.
I was actually going to say the same thing too.
Really?
Because I think that was the moment, because that was the ball challenge, right?
Yeah.
And so then like that moment happened, and that's when it was just like, okay, save her. She's a star. Done and done. And then the next one when you came out with the hairspray.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was all those are things. The fake split thing I used to do in New York all the time. But the hairspray thing, we were like walking to the runway. And I was like, oh God, I need like something like I was like, oh, we're walking to the runway. They had this like utility thing of all these like glue or hairspray or scissors, whatever it is. And I just grabbed the 2 cans of hairspray. I was like, maybe I can use these, and then it just happened at a number.
So that wasn't planned at all. That was impromptu.
Yeah, it was on the way to the stage. I was
oh
like,
my goodness.
Yeah.
I think the Old McDonald lip sync will live forever and ever in my head because it was so unexpected, but perfect in every way. And the other thing that I could actually go on and on and on about this, and maybe I will after you sign out, Monet, so I won't embarrass myself. But like that last lip sync to the Katy Perry song on the All-Star 7, especially like the first 18 seconds or so, and I know that it's the first 18 seconds because of how many times I've rewound it. Like it's just fantastic. 2 of my all-time favorite moments.
I was really proud of that lip sync. You know, I was so proud of that lip sync. Like anytime they have lip syncs on the show, everyone who works on the show, like from like lighting people, camera people, gaffers, costume, whatever, they all come to watch the lip sync. Especially this one. This was the last one of the season. So like literally everyone on set came, they were watching it, and they were just like so into it. And I felt like I was at my old, I feel like I was at industry bar in New York City just performing for like a room full of people. It just felt great. And I just had such a good time doing that lip sync.
Yeah, it was clear. It was kind of one of those things that was like infectious to watch because of how much fun you were having with it, and also just how beautifully precise it was. I loved every second of it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, so I have sort of, a related question. So before you signed on, the 3 of us were chatting, and I've never been in drag before. And so,
really?
Yeah, I know it's weird and it's crazy and it's unexpected, but I'm totally all about it. And so Lee and Paige offered to be my co-drag mothers. And so I'm just wondering, do you have any advice for like a little baby drag queen?
I think it's easy to get caught up in like what you look like. I know when I first started putting, like I would to my face, I'm like, oh, I don't look good. I can't go out. And it was always my excuse, like not go out. But I think that no matter what you look like, when you can look like the bottom of a shoe if you just if you do your best and when you go out and into the club, people are gonna love it. People are gonna be like, oh, bitch, work. Like no matter what you look like. I think that's a big misconception for young drag queens. They feel like if they don't look perfect, they can't go out and no one's gonna like them, or no one will think that they look good, and that's not true. People, especially at gay clubs, like real gay clubs, people just love to see drag. And even if you don't look your best or you shine the brightest, people are just happy that you brought your drag queen behind to the club, and they will fawn over you, and they will want to keep on seeing you.
Well, I think I could do better than the bottom of a shoe.
I mean, that was me for the first year. I was not gorgeous. I was not pretty by any means, but I was still going out and I was feeling myself. I didn't care what I looked like.
Well, I'm curious, like with the young queens, are you watching the current season that's on season 15?
Yes.
So much hay has been made about like sort of the young TikTok queens versus the more seasoned club queens. Do you have any thoughts about that? Because I mean, I think Lux is fabulous.
Yeah, I don't have any qualms about you being a TikTok queen or you you just started drag a year ago, I do think that drag is one of those things you can only learn doing it. And whether that be just on TikTok, whatever it is, like you're perfecting your art form or however you want it to be. And I think the twins are a perfect example. They started drag on TikTok, and they don't seem to have any inclination or desire to want to do drag like at clubs or do all these things. And I mean, now being on the show, they will get presented with opportunities to do that. But from what they say on social media and on the tube, they're completely okay with doing drag for their phones and doing drag how they've been doing it. And I think that as we get older in this art form and as drag is developing, we have to be okay with new, different, and alternative types of drag. Just because someone's drag isn't the same as yours or doesn't have the same ideals or the same tenets as yours doesn't mean it doesn't invalidate theirs anymore. It doesn't make yours better than theirs. It's just a different type of drag.
Well said. Well said. Well, one little surprise I didn't tell the two of y'all about, but we actually have a listener question.
Oh.
Yes, for you, Monet. So let me pull it up. So this is from Melina, and Melina asks, does Monet have any dream artist that they'd like to work with?
Oh my God, like a dream. I guess it doesn't just across any discipline.
Yeah, she did not specify.
I mean, honestly, one of my Lord and Savior Rihanna. If Rihanna would have me, if I could like sing something on a track or record or some live performance, I would die. I would gag, and because Rihanna would be the one to put some type of classical something into this like dope new R&B song or just like a reggae something, and I hope that I'm the girl she calls.
My Bayesian cousin, yes.
Yeah, are you Bayesian? Word.
I am.
I love that.
Maybe we can figure something out. Not that I know her, but maybe I know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. You never know. Well, this has been fabulous. Thank you so much, Monet, for joining us. I cannot wait to see you up on stage as the Duchess of Krakenthorp in Daughter of the Regiment at the Ordway Center for the Performing Arts. I know what it's called. The Ordway Center for Performing Arts through February 12th. And before we let you go, is there anything that you'd like to promote? Podcasts, socials, any upcoming performances other than Daughter of the Regiment that you'd like the people to know about?
Yeah, I mean, just my podcast, To the Margaret Bob. We put out 2 episodes a week, Monday and Wednesday. If you want a Drag Race review podcast, that's on Mondays, and our regular Shindig is on Wednesdays. And Ebony and Irony with Lady Bunny on every Friday. So just all the cast, plug in the cast.
Absolutely. Well, we will all be listening. And can't wait to see you on stage, like I said. And thank you so much, Monet, for being with us. This was so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys.
All right. And we'll be right back with Pure Black Joy. Oh my goodness, can you believe? Can you believe that just happened? My God. Well, big thank you once again to Monét X Change for being with us. I have no words.
Yeah, it was extraordinary.
How exciting. How exciting. But even more exciting, it's time for our favorite segment of the show. As if that wasn't enough, we have more. It's time for Pure Black Joy. Are you ready, Paige?
Ready.
All right. And a 1, and a 2, and a 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter jelly. Peanut butter jelly. Peanut butter jelly with a baseball bat. Peanut butter jelly. Peanut butter jelly. Peanut butter jelly with a baseball bat. Peanut butter jelly. Peanut butter jelly.
Yeah, I let you finish. I let you finish this time.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. You were so welcome. Well, that was beautiful as always. This is Pure Black Joy, where we talk about all of the Black people, places, things, culture, music, food, art that's making us happy this week. And would anyone like to go first?
I will.
Okay.
So something that's making me happy is a visit to a bookstore. That always makes me happy, but not just any bookstore, particularly Black Garnet Books, which is a Black woman-owned bookstore that is based here in the Twin Cities. They've been open for like a couple years now, a minute now, but they recently opened their brick and mortar shop in St. Paul.
Woohoo.
And it was just such a nice experience. Oh my goodness. I'd actually been like ordering from them online, but first time going into the physical store. First of all, it is so cute. They have like art up from local artists. So many of the books in there, I feel like probably almost everything in there is like written by people of color, by Black Indigenous folks, there's lots of local books, there's children's books, there's a whole bunch of young adult fiction and lots of Afrofuturist kind of books.
My favorite.
Oh my gosh, they even have a section of manga.
Oh,
and
wow. Okay.
And graphic novels. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So it was awesome. I could have been was I in there for an hour? I don't know. I was in there for a while. I come out with a whole big stack of books, even though I already have several at home that I haven't read. Absolutely. I sure did. Including one of my favorite authors, Akwaeke Emezi. They're a Nigerian author who's also queer, and I just bought like 3 of their books that I've always been wanting.
Hey.
And I was looking at stuff for my nibblings in the children's book section. I even read this book. I sat down and read this book about Two-Spirit Hawaiian folks called Mahu. Right? Like they had all kinds. The selection. It was the selection for me. So wherever you're at in the country, maybe even the world, you can shop online at Black Garnet Books, and I encourage y'all to do so, to support them.
Yeah, we will definitely put the link into the chat.
Absolutely. That sounds
or
awesome.
The chat, no. The show notes. The show notes. What? Behind the scenes, how the sausage is made. You weren't supposed to see that. But yes, Black Garnet Books. I need to get over there because I'm super excited that it's open now. Yeah, it's so nice. It's so cute. I just sit there and read a book for a while. Like, go buy some books, but also just sitting there for a while. It's a nice space.
I love bookstores. I miss bookstores.
Yeah. I worked in a bookstore for several years, and that's cool. It was just really lovely just to be able to just sit around and talk to people about the books and the music that they love all day, and just cultivate just a really like chill space. And we, at the bookstore that I worked at, we were sort of required every month to like write something about one of our favorite books that was sold in the store, and like write a little paragraph about it and stick it on the shelf by the book. And it was just such a fun little exercise to really get yourself excited about reading and literature and expanding your horizons and sharing that with people. So I think bookstores are amazing. Well, Lee, what's making you happy?
Well, one of my favorite things that's ever been created is The Wiz, the wonderful musical from 1975 by Charlie Smalls, which is a retelling of The Wizard of Oz from a Black point of view.
Iconic.
It's absolutely iconic. I love the original Broadway soundtrack with the young Stephanie Mills and Dee Dee Bridgewater and a bunch of other super talented Black people. And of course, the movie from 1978 with Diana Ross and Michael Jackson, Lena Horne, Richard Pryor, and a bunch of other super talented Black people. It's just a great score, which also randomly features a song by Luther Vandross. If you didn't know, Everybody Rejoice was written by him. It's just a great show. It's a great score. And it's going on tour again in the fall of 2023 in advance of a revival on Broadway the following year for its 50th anniversary. So very, very excited about this, especially because this production will have a Black woman director, Shelley Williams, and a Black choreographer, Jaquel Knight. And the libretto is being refreshed by a Black comedian, the hilarious Amber Ruffin. So I think this is going to be a really lovely thing to see. And hopefully they know that I would be a mean Glenda and they remember that.
Take notes.
Give me my Tony Award and give it to me now.
I am so freaking excited for that.
That's
Like,
Yes.
The Wiz is like my happy place.
Absolutely.
Well, for me, so we all know that fiction's not my thing, but if I were to go see a piece of fiction, it would be something like the movie Megan, which came out, like a funny, silly horror movie that's super campy, and it's really cool that, you know, it came out and it has been exceeding all these expectations and all the memes, and it's just been this cultural force, whatever. I did not know that that movie was written by a Black woman named Akilah Cooper. So I just wanted to say shout out to Akilah, who's also written all sorts of things. She was a writer on American Horror Story and wrote Malignant, which was I was reading about it, and a wild movie last year.
I've heard things about that one.
I'm like, right?
I didn't know that was her. Shout out to you, sis.
And now I want to go see Megan, because like that's amazing. And shout out to her, and Megan 2 apparently is coming in 2025. So she is staying booked and busy.
Yeah.
And getting her coins. So shout out to you, Akilah Cooper.
Yeah, congratulations, Akilah.
Mm-hmm.
I actually don't ever watch horror movies. Like I frighten very, very easily, and even things that shouldn't be scary to me are terrifying. I never finished E.T., as a matter of fact, from when I was about 6, because it scared the hot hell out of me.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So I don't know if I can handle Megan, but after you see it, tell me how scary it is, and if it's not like super scary, if it's more on the side of not scary at all, then I also will watch it.
Okay, cool. No, because I feel the same way. I hate horror movies, but I do love reading about horror movies. Which is weird, perhaps. I don't know, but just like delving into these people's imaginations and all of like the crazy things that, you know, they come up with. But I don't know, Megan just looks so funny.
It does look really funny.
Yeah, I'm not normally a horror movie person either. I will read horror. I just feel like there's some things my eyes do not need to see.
Exactly.
That's just me, you know. But you know, stuff that can be like a little campy, or if it's giving like more suspense or like psychological thriller, paranormal stuff too. I don't like the I will never see Saw or anything like that.
No, God, no.
I am not that girl. What was that other like torture type one that came out that was like really like
Hostile?
huge? Yes, yeah. I mean, yes, like no, I will never see it. I'm glad she's not doing that type of stuff. I'm glad sis don't seem to. I can get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I remember going and seeing whenever it came out, Orphan in the
Oh
theaters.
God.
Did you ever see? No,
haven't seen
like it was hilarious. It was so funny. It was so funny. Like, do you know the twist at the end of Orphan?
No.
Okay, I mean it's a 15-year-old movie, so if
Yeah, just tell us. Just tell us.
But
What
yeah,
is it?
like people, if you have not seen Orphan, skip ahead a minute or two. You don't want it ruined for you. No, the whole thing about Orphan is that the little girl, like, she's like, is killing people or whatever, and like coming on to like the husband, and it's just like, what is going on? Turns out that she is actually a 40-year-old woman who has a type of dwarfism.
That's right.
Where
Yep.
she like looks like a 6-year-old girl, but she's actually like a 40-year-old, like a mental asylum escapee. And it's amazing. So I'm thinking, like, Megan has that same sort of flavor of camp that I'm looking for. Or like, do you remember like The Good Son when we were kids with Macaulay Culkin?
Elijah Wood, is
Yes.
that it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do remember that. Well, if it's more like what Jordan Peele has been doing, then like, because that to me, like, there's an aspect of Get Out that's terrifying. There's an aspect of Nope that is terrifying, but like they're generally fine, right? Like it's not the stuff that like really sits with me, somebody getting their head cut off, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm not here for it. But stuff that's kind of like, hey, America's really scary, isn't it? And I'm like, yeah, it is. That's the kind of horror movie that I can actually get down with. So
America's got a problem. Well, I think that's going to do it for this week. Want to thank Monét X Change profusely once again for being with us, and go see Daughter of the Regiment. I think hopefully there are still tickets available.
Say if there's tickets,
or hopefully not. I don't know how I feel about that. Anyway, go see Daughter of the Regiment if you can. And as always, subscribe on your podcast app of choice. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Leave us 5 stars. Tell all of your friends about us. Write to us at thescore@mnopera.org if you want to weigh in on what my drag name should be. And nothing untoward, please. Keep it polite, please. Thank you. And I think that's it. Any words of wisdom before we go? I saw a tweet a while ago that Kim Kardashian bought Monet's sponge dress for $500,000. That's not true, is it?
I also saw that.
Don't do that. That's my word of wisdom.
My assumption is that that was someone yanking our collective chain.
I see. Okay.
But you never know. It is 2023. Stranger things have happened.
But I was going to say, don't do that. If you have $500,000 laying around, do something good with it. Invest it.
The word of wisdom is check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Yes. Yes. All right. We will see you in 2 weeks. And everybody be easy. Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.